and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to be talking with the Chairman of the Planning Commission. Welcome, Greg Williams. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for asking.
It's nice to meet you for the first time. I've seen you, up on the dais, and I'm sure other people have seen you in the televised meetings.
Right, people come up to me and say, oh, I saw you on TV, and I always forget, when was I on TV?
Was I on TV? I was in a meeting. You forget about that part. Well, let's talk a little bit about you first.
Okay.
How did you end up in Hampton?
Well, actually, I came to Hampton in 1964 to go to Hampton Institute at the time.
So many people, go there and end up coming back.
Yeah,
a lot
of people do.
So you majored in?
I was in sociology. I really had no clue on what to major in when I came to Hampton, and so I just, put a pin in one and said, okay, let's do this. And my mother worked in social work, so I knew a little bit about that.
Gotcha.
And so I decided, well, let's go with something I at least know. Had I to do it over again, I probably would have chose something other than that, but it worked out well.
Okay. So after Hampton Institute, though, you left again.
Yes.
And followed a career path with AT&T?
Well, I left Hampton Institute and went into the service out of ROTC. So I spent 2 years in Germany, and I was very lucky because that was during the height of the Vietnam War when I came out in '68.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting orders I got a telegram one day that said use or Euro on it. I wondered, what the heck is use or Euro? And I found out I was going to Europe. So I was actually able to bring my wife over. And so we spent 2 fantastic years in Germany.
Now, did you meet her at Hampton Institute?
I certainly did.
Okay.
And she is indeed a native of Hampton in the Aberdeen area. So this was her home. I came here from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, I'm from Hamilton, Ohio.
Oh, hey, how about that, neighbor?
Mm-hmm. All right, so you were in the service for a while and eventually ended up working for AT&T, and that's almost like the service. They moved you around quite a bit.
Well, when I got out of the service, I worked for Cincinnati Bell for 8 or 9 years. And then I decided that, I can do better than this. So I decided I'd try to go with AT&T. Now, it took a while. I think I applied to transfer to AT&T from Cincinnati, about 2 or 3 years. But then it happened. And so then we moved to New Jersey. From New Jersey, we moved out to California. From California, we moved back to New Jersey. So we did quite a bit of moving, and it was great. I had several very nice assignments where I got to travel around the world and travel around the country. So it was between the Army and AT&T, I got to see quite a bit of not only America, but Europe and Asia also.
So, but you guys came back to Hampton.
Came back to Hampton.
When you retired.
Yes.
And by this time, speaking of which, your sociology degree had been supplemented a little bit.
Yeah. I quickly realized that I wasn't going to do much with a sociology degree. So I went back to school and got a master's degree in guidance and counseling, which is something I really enjoyed doing. And I did that for a while. And the funny thing happened is that I was sitting at my desk one day, and the guy next to me said, boy, I got to get out of here. And I said, where are you going? He said, I got to get to law school. I said, law school? You can go to law school at night? He said, oh yeah. He said, I'm in my third year out of 4. Well, that afternoon, I drove over to the law school and put in my application, and the next thing I know, I was accepted.
Wow.
So then I went for 4 years at night for a Juris Doctorate.
That's a tough thing to do after a long day at work.
It indeed was, and I applaud my wife because we had 2 young kids at the time, and so she was really stuck with them at home. But the funny thing about it is after I graduated from law school, she went back to school and got our degree in accounting. So then I was home with the kids.
Oh, that's good. You guys took turns.
So we took turns.
Okay, so you came back to Hampton. You were deciding between New York City and Hampton, where you were going to retire.
Right.
Why Hampton?
Well, we debated that for quite a while. We loved New York City, and where we were at New Jersey, we could get through the tunnel or the bridge and be there in a short period of time. But we decided, they ain't making any more ocean. So let's go back to where we can always live in the city, but to live by the ocean and again we wanted to slow down a little bit too. And a lot of people kept saying, well, why would you move to Hampton? There's absolutely nothing there. And I said, that's exactly why I want to be there. And by the way, they were wrong. There are a lot of things here that people don't realize, and it's probably one of the best kept secrets that we ought to make more public on what's nice about this Hampton Roads area.
Yeah, I agree. So how did you get involved with the Planning Commission? What made you, want to serve the city or to be in that role? Well,
when we first got back, I retired early. I retired at 52, so I was bored.
Yeah, I bet, as busy as you've been and
so
as much as you've
done. And
I
thought when I retired, that's going to be good. Sitting around the house doing absolutely nothing all day and deciding to, when I wake up from a nap, deciding, well, do I want to go here or do I want to go there? Well, nah, I'll just sleep some more. Well, that got old very quick. And so I said, well, let me see, what do I want to do? Well, I didn't want a job. I knew that. I didn't want to go back to work again. So I said, well, let me see what else I can do. And so I saw some of the things in the newspaper where there were openings for different organizations. So I started off on the Hampton Arts Commission. And I was there for several years and also part of the Hampton Arts Foundation for a couple of years. Then I saw a couple of things, well, let me try something different, and then I ended up on the board for the Coliseum. And I really enjoyed, I'm still on that one, by the way, and I really enjoyed that.
I see a theme here, the arts, the entertainment.
And it's a funny thing because when I was working, the corporation had one of these things where you go out and they had one of these kind of parties or whatever it was. Anyway, I was there. And there were these fortune tellers there. And my wife said, well, yeah, let's do it. We ain't got anything else to do. So I said, fine. So I gave the lady my palm and she started reading. She said, oh, I see where you're going to be heavily involved in the arts. I had never done anything in the arts until that time. Not a thing. And I thought, boy, this is bogus. I don't know who's giving her information. But lo and behold, I said, I should have asked her some more questions now that I think about it. But, but she called it right.
That's
so I saw where there was an opening for the Planning Commission in the newspaper, and I said, well, let me try that, and here I am.
Right, and now you're chair. Now tell people, what the heck does the Planning Commission do? I don't think necessarily people understand. Like, they may see the meetings flash by, but...
yeah, I think there is some, and even I was confused when I first got here, because there are so many different divisions within the city that do different things, which look similar on paper or if you hear about them, but are not. Basically, let me see if I can make this as simple as possible. First of all, every locality in the state of Virginia has to have a planning commission. Mandated by the state.
Mandated by the state.
Mandated by the state. And it's supposed to be composed of citizens. So where council are elected officials, the planning commission is generally citizens. And right now on the Hampton Planning Commission, we have 5 citizens. We also have 1 member of council, and we have the city manager.
Right.
So that's what makes up our planning commission. And for want of a better choice of words, we're kind of like the people who kind of oversee the community plans. So we're the ones who, every 5 years, Hampton does a review of the city community plans. And so then what we do is, as things begin to develop in the city, you come before the Planning Commission with an application saying, gee, I'd like to do this. I'd like to put a nursing home here. I'd like to put a child care center here. I would like to put a restaurant here, or I'd like my restaurant to have music, or I'd like my restaurant to stay open later. Then what we do is we invite the citizens in to, first of all, we hope that that person has a community meeting.
Right. Usually there's some citizen outreach before it gets to you.
Sometimes, most of the time that happens, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes people aren't able to show up at that original meeting, but they come to the Planning Commission. Once there, the applicant says what they want to do, and then we listen, we ask questions. The citizens get to ask questions. And then we, kind of like a citizens advisory board for council, make a decision on whether or not we think that the application could go through or not go through. So we're certainly not the decision makers.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, there's an official vote, and it seems like a decision, but it is advice to council.
It is.
We recommend you agree with this, or we recommend you deny it.
Right, and then that's where things get a little bit tricky, because people come in, they get approved by the Planning Commission, and they think it's smooth sailing.
Right.
Well, what happens is the citizens get another shot. They get another shot before City Council. And oftentimes, well, not that often, but often enough that it's not out of the ordinary, the City Council will reverse what the Planning Commission has done.
Political pressures and citizen contact are very different. A lot of people don't wake up until something gets to the City Council level.
Right.
Not always. I mean, certainly, you know, the Wawa, for example, was one where there was a lot of debate starting, well, from the very beginning, really, of that
Wawa
issue.
was a great one because originally the citizens said, we don't think we want a Wawa there. And when they came before the Planning Commission, and I have to be honest with you, in my case, I was a little biased on this one. My wife being from Aberdeen, and I spent some time there, so I kind of wanted to go with, hey, if the citizens don't want this, then that's probably where my head's going to go. But there was always the caveat that the only reason this came before the Planning Commission was that the Wawa wanted to take another little piece of property, tiny piece of property. If that hadn't been the case, you could have got anything there.
Right.
And so it was, you know, from my point of view, it was kind of like, well, is it the devil you know or the devil you don't know?
I think that's what it ended up being, you know.
So the citizens kind of thought about that a little bit. And actually, when it came to council, it had switched around and they were more likely saying, yeah, maybe we want a Wawa rather than something else that we'll really not want.
Right, because there were a lot of things that could have gone there by right without asking anyone for permission. I think, and that neighborhood association, I mean, I would have loved to have been involved in that because they split. I mean,
yeah, they did. They did. And
it was a very difficult transition for them, I think, to get through that.
And I applaud them from the standpoint of being one of the more active neighborhoods.
Very active, right.
Aberdeen, Buckrow, and a couple others are very active in what's going to happen. They're very concerned with their community plan. They're very concerned with how's it going, how come this isn't happening. And a lot of that has to do with the capital improvement plan, which we also reviewed.
We've approved all the master plan. There's just no money left.
There's no money. If you look at what Hampton was bringing in prior to 2008,
oh, it's half.
Half.
Less than half, I think, at this point.
Less than half. And it was dependent on property taxes. So, you know, it causes a lot of pain one way or the other. You want to move forward on these things. But then in this environment, with this economy, you know, how much can you wring out of property taxes? So it becomes a debate.
Right. So just tell people when the Planning Commission meets so they can tune in to this station and watch it.
We meet on the first Thursday of every month at 3:30 on the 8th floor in the big room where council meets. And we're set up just about the same way. And you come, and if you are interested in that or some of the other applications, you sign up in the back saying you would like to speak. And then as we go through and the commissioners ask all their questions, and the applicant speaks, then we open it up to the public, and those who have signed up get to stand up and say what they think about whether this should go forward or should not.
You know, my sense is a lot more regular people show up for the Planning Commission. It's much more about that issue, and people are maybe a little less afraid. Coming before council is intimidating to some folks, but I see a lot of neighbors and, you know, people getting involved at that Planning Commission level.
And also, it's kind of like a rehearsal.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
You get to go before the Planning Commission, and then when you sit down and you say, oh, I should have said this, oh, I should have said that. Well, you get another shot at it with council, and so you get a chance to get those thoughts together and present perhaps a better case.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you so much for coming by today. I think it's wonderful. We are lucky that you picked early retirement in Hampton rather than New York City, and that you were too bored to sit home. So thank you for your service to Hampton.
Well, thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Great. And thank you for watching Round Robin. I hope you'll join us again.